Happy New Year, everyone, from Oklahoma Sports Scene. Hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln, along with the Hall of Fame coach, Tulsa Public School Athletic Director, Gil Cloud. Oh, Gil, we're licking our wounds from bowl season. It's not been kind so far. The Oklahoma schools, of course, the Oklahoma State Cowboys got to a great start in their bowl game, the Texas Bowl, and kind of let things fall apart. Texas A&M won that one, and then the OU game was just a disaster.
Football's over.
Yeah.
Football's over. It's basketball season.
Oh boy, that's gonna tell you. It's hard. It's almost the last one you remember the most, isn't it?
Well, you do, and it's a shame for the seniors that were playing in that football game for Oklahoma and for Oklahoma State, because the last time they walk off that field, they lost. You know, and it wasn't just a little loss.
No, it was
a beat down. I mean, they scored 63, and you know, that makes a lot of questions for the future. You know, is the defense where we want it to be? Who will the quarterback be for Oklahoma? I think Oklahoma State's got that question answered for them.
Yeah.
That quarterback will be back, and you know, will the running back be back from Oklahoma State? I think there are a lot of questions about our state football programs, and of course, University of Tulsa. We hope they're on the road recruiting right now.
That's right, exactly. We got a great show lined up for you, though, to kind of get inside these bowl games and wrap up the 2019 season. We'll start with our old friend Guerin, the columnist for the Tulsa World, who was kind of the beat writer for the OU Sooners, and obviously was there in Atlanta.
And he had that opportunity the next morning to talk to Lincoln Riley and give us a little bit of insight on where the coach feels they are.
And then for the Oklahoma State Cowboy fans, we got one of the insiders there, John Holcomb. Of course, you know him very well as the sports director of the Oklahoma's News on 6, and a long time, about 15 years, as the Cowboy Radio Network, working with Dave Hunsinger there on the Cowboy broadcast. He's going to kind of wrap up the OSU season and answer questions like, what about Chuba Hubbard? What about this young freshman quarterback coming back?
I think you'll have some good information there, and also 13 years as the basketball analyst.
That's right.
So I think we'll get a little bit about Mike Boynton's crew and where they're headed.
And the variety of Oklahoma sports team, we pride ourselves on that, and we got quite a contrast for you. We're going to go with Emmitt Hahn, talk about, of course, obviously the big Chili Bowl races coming up later in the month of January. But right now they're running these minis out there at the Expo Square Center there, the River Spirit Center. They'll be there through January 4th. We'll preview that for you, talk about the incredible impact it has on Tulsa. What a show.
Oh, he said it's amazing. I think for the preliminary is that there's over 1,300 cars that will be here. And can you imagine the economic impact that week in January will be?
Then one of the big events in December in the world of sports is the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. It's the hottest ticket in Vegas, and our friend Jeff Medders, who is the host of the NFR on CBS Sports, he's going to be in studio with us to wrap up the champion Cowboys of 2019. Look forward to that. Then our friend Michael Knight with OKPreps.com. Your event, the 55th Annual Tournament of Champions, what a success that was.
He'll have a great deal of ideas and some footage, I think, on some of the best basketball teams in high school basketball in the state of Oklahoma.
All right, Sooner fans, get ready to weep again. Guerin Emig is going to come over here and talk about what happened to OU and what's the future for the Sooners. That's straight ahead on Oklahoma Sports Scene. And again, Happy New Year.
Cheers. Cheers.
All right, y'all, how's everything tasting?
That is awesome.
I come bearing gifts of the liquid variety.
Bricktown Brewery. Come and get it.
What are you guys looking at?
Oh, just one of 360 TLX PMCs in existence.
Wait, what do you mean?
They're made by hand. Yeah, Mr. Mo says CLs make them at the North Pole.
Oh yeah? What else did Mr. Mo tell you?
Cue the voiceover.
From now until the end of the year, save big on all new and certified pre-owned Acuras.
Happy holidays from all of us here at Don Carlton Acura.
Well, we have Guerin Emig here today. and here's the headline, and we're all not very happy about it. Guerin, welcome to the show.
Nice to see you guys again.
Yeah, again, the columnists don't write the headlines, but I got to say he didn't get it wrong.
That was one word for it. That was one. That was.
All right, Guerin, give us your impressions of Peach Bowl and that 63-28 beatdown at the hands of the LSU Tigers.
It reminded a lot of those of us in the press box of the game in Miami.
2004 Orange Bowl.
15 years previously.
55-19 USC.
Yeah, and a lot of fans, I'm sure, I think also had flashbacks to that game. It was every bit as one-sided, and I think that although OU wasn't the favorite then against USC, they were more of an underdog in this matchup. I still don't think anyone thought it would get that lopsided as it did.
What happened?
Well, the easiest answer would be LSU is just really terrific, and they had a great night. I mean, they played well, and it wasn't just Joe Burrow. I think everyone expected him to play well. Guy wins the Heisman Trophy. OU still has some holes to fix, obviously, and on defense. They were missing some players on defense. That was a lethal combination, but it wasn't just Burrow. The line of scrimmage was dominated on both sides. And the Tigers, for a team that OU was supposed to be able to move the ball against, I thought the Tigers played terrific defense. So LSU was fantastic. At the same time, as Lincoln Riley alluded to, Oklahoma did not play well, and you can't afford to do that against a team this good.
Well, I think your column in Monday's paper said it. The depth of players when your best running back carries twice and your receiver is not a factor at all, and yet you step up and score 63 points. That's the key.
Yeah, that was LSU, Gil. It was phenomenal to watch a team operate that efficiently and ruthlessly with both, you referenced Clyde Edwards-Helaire, their running back, who was slowed by a hamstring injury, and he only gets 2 carries. He rushed for almost 1,300 yards. And then the Biletnikoff Award-winning receiver, Jamar Chase, who we talked about a couple of weeks before the break, about how dangerous a matchup he would be for OU. He caught 2 passes. I think you take that going in if you're Oklahoma. The problem is the other guy caught 15 for over 200 yards. So LSU obviously has championship depth, national championship depth. The way I put it in the column was Oklahoma has Big 12 championship depth. That's a problem on this stage.
Very, very emotional locker room afterwards. Mm-hmm. And Jalen Hurts, you could tell he was really hurting and very apologetic. He said, I promised Lincoln Riley when I came here I'd win him a national championship.
He's not a guy, Chris, who opens up that often. We tried to sort of crack his shell all year in the media and try to get him to sort of give us an idea of what he was thinking and feeling. And it sort of took until that moment for him to sort of reveal how much I think he's going to miss college football, not just at Oklahoma, but his career at Alabama. And he did cop to not delivering what he said he would when Lincoln Riley brought him in. That was interesting.
Still finished at 1,298 yards rushing, broke Jack Mildren's single-season record back to 1971. Also tied his rushing touchdown records at 20. By all accounts, an incredible season.
Well, and that's and the night of the game, guys, I wrote that, look, it was a miserable night, and it was frankly, it was an embarrassing performance. There's no way around that. You can't, though, just completely erase the fact that they made the playoff in a year where not many expected that they would, and they certainly they were certainly a long shot to make it after the midseason stumble at Kansas State. I think. And Riley hinted at this as well in the postgame. I think this team overachieved. They just weren't ready to go there. I mean, to get to the playoff was a big accomplishment. It was too much to ask for them to do anything beyond that.
And boy, there is really separation, I think, in the 3 above them from the rest of the NCAA Division I. I just don't think there's any question. And really, my opinion, Guerin, I don't know how you feel, but the national championship game was played at 7 o'clock Saturday night.
Oh, that was, and it was terrific to see that one, especially after how one-sided the prelim was. It was nice to see that one sort of live up to. We talked about this again a couple of weeks ago. Hopeful that we'd get a matchup that fit the hype, and I think Clemson and Ohio State delivered that. And I hope that Clemson and LSU will deliver because that has the same kind of potential.
For Sooner fans, though, there's no denying. I mean, 2016, number 4 OU, number 1 Clemson, 37-17. Clemson. Rose Bowl, OU jumps out to the big lead. Then they finally lose in double overtime, 54-48 to number 3 Georgia, when Oklahoma was the number 2 seed. Orange Bowl, number 1 Alabama, 45, OU 34 in 2019. Then the 35-point beatdown 2019.
So there's obviously, just as Bob Stoops, after winning the national championship, so early in his tenure, eventually had to sort of live down the big game failure. He was big game Bob, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. Lincoln Riley's got to be a little careful here. This is a dominant team in the Big 12. The Sooners controlled that like Kansas controls basketball. I mean, the comparisons, I think, are being made more and more often because KU's had the same issues in hoops getting over the national hump. Well, now you all of a sudden have Lincoln Riley. If he's not careful, he's such a young coach still. And I wrote this when I was in Atlanta, and I don't think it's fair to judge a guy as best coach not to win a playoff game or national championship when he's only 36 years old and in his third season as a head coach. And yet, the results that he's had in the playoff, 0-3, combined with Stoops coming up short against Clemson and OU's 0-4 record in the playoff, it does create a stigma. There's no way around that.
And I think it doesn't help the Big 12 at all in the future when we start talking about the committee selecting because, well, they play the easy schedule.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. There are human beings that make up the playoff committee, and although they're not supposed to hold history against a program, they're not. It's only, they swear that they won't do it, and they swear it's strictly by the standard of the current season. But Gil, you're hitting on something that's going to be there if Oklahoma's not careful, because they are only human, and they are going to eventually realize that what looks good over the course of a Big 12 season does not translate.
I mean, you could be sitting there saying, would Oregon been better?
Yeah, or even, Alabama or Georgia. I don't think many people. It'll be interesting to see if Oklahoma is voted fourth in the final poll, because they were that short of LSU might give pause for voters to bump them down, not put them in the number 4 spot automatically.
Well, to keep Guerin with us here, we're going to look ahead now, Sooner fans, to 2020. He had a chance to sit down and meet with Lincoln Riley the morning after the disaster, the overmatched disaster. Talk more about that in a moment.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
Okay, Winston, that should do it.
Hey, Sammy, what are you guys doing?
Winston and I were making gingerbread garages.
Gingerbread garages?
Yeah, so Winston could park his new Honda in it.
Sammy, he's a dog.
Oh, should I build him bigger?
From all of us here at Don Carlton Honda, we'd like to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and safe travels this holiday season.
Hey, Sammy, have you seen Winston?
Yeah, he took the Civic for a spin.
It's back, January 13th to the 18th, all under the giant roof of the River Spirit Expo Center. The 34th running of the Lucas Oil Chili Nationals, presented by General Tire. Monday and Tuesday reserved seats are on sale now by calling 918-838-3777 or get yours at the event. The world's best drivers in an all-out mudslinging war for the Golden Driller. Can't make it for the whole week? Get your General Edition pit pass at the event and find seating all along the back straightway. For more information, prices, and details, log on to chilibowl.com.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Back with Guerin Emig, sports columnist of the Tulsa World, who was there to see that Oklahoma underperformance against LSU, the 35-point beat down in the Peach Bowl. So OU goes 0-4 in the college football playoffs. And Guerin, all you can do now is put that aside, look to 2020. You met with Lincoln Riley the morning after to talk about that meeting.
Yeah, a coach like Bob before him, Bob Stoops, always meets with beat writers and media the morning after. And he was a little more self-reflective than immediately after the game, and we caught him, in the post-game press conference. The most honest thing he said was he talked about the need for better personnel, top to bottom. I think he feels like it's building the right way, especially on defense. But if you're comparing it, it's one thing to compare it to the rest of college football. It's another to compare it to LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia. And that's really what, as we've talked about, that's what this is about at this point for him. He can't recruit players to win the Big 12 every year. He has to start recruiting players that can match up better in these games because it's going to frustrate him to not break through. It's certainly going to frustrate his fan base.
You know, it's interesting, too, because they do recruit nationwide. So they got to get into some of those places they haven't gotten into in the past, I would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and again, I think the focus needs to be defensively. They've pretty much the talent issue has not been on the offense. I mean, I think they came up a little bit short in some key spots this year. Jalen Hurts, for some reason, regressed as a thrower as the season went on, and he was overmatched completely by we use that word again by Burrow in the Peach Bowl. But no one thinks that Lincoln Riley needs to make a massive jump offensively with regard to scheme and players. It still has to be on defense. Alex Grinch, I thought, did a lot of good things this year. I don't think you can take those things away based on how LSU ran over his defense in one game. But what that outcome did make apparent was the need for more work and a lot more work to be done.
And that puts more pressure on the offense when the defense is not playing well enough and getting the ball back to them, I think.
You see a return to the OU Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield days with a Spencer Rattler, which, but interestingly, Spencer went in before Mordecai. For one series, I heard Lincoln say that Mordecai was coming in if they got their first down, but obviously it seems like Spencer Rattler's team. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think the anticipation, Chris, is that it will be Rattler's team next year, and we'll see sort of a next wave of receivers with CeeDee Lamb already declaring that he's turning pro. Theo Weiss, Jaden Hazelwood, Trajan Bridges, after he's back from a suspension, will sort of, and Austin Stogner, really talented young tight end. I think that's going to be the core of this offense the next 2 years, if not 3. And if that's the case, it is going to look a lot more like it did when Mayfield and Murray were throwing it. Now, the interesting point is if you're going to play faster and if you're going to throw the ball and look for bigger, more explosive plays as opposed to this year where they went ball control with Hurts running, it does put more stress on the defense. So now we're right back to, can the defense respond and handle it? Because they got a break this year just on the fact that the offense helped them out.
And that schedule opens for Oklahoma 2020, September 5th, with a scrimmage against Missouri State. Oh, Missouri State, what the hell are they playing then? September 12th, Tennessee. September 19th, open, and then be a fun trip to West Point, September 26th at Army, and October 3rd, the Big 12 starts at OU with Baylor coming to town.
Yeah, I can't wait to see OU Army at West Point.
Well, remember that game here was just
too close for comfort for you and the fan base, right?
Well, was it ever? And of course, for those who love traditional football, you loved that game, didn't you, though? Army. Boy, ball control and just control like that. But I think it just such a build-up. And again, he did a good job in the column again this week of letting people know that, hey, you can't throw the whole season away with one game. It's just the one you remember for the next few months.
Yeah, and that's why you mentioned the start of next season. That it helps to win games again. And then to show better than you did in your last outing. And so it's going to be important not just for the sake of next season, but for the sake of what just happened in Atlanta for the Sooners to start well and play convincing football again.
We have something for you and the wife. That's right.
Oh, Christy's lovely. Christy looks forward to this as much as I do, and I look forward to it. So the Emigs are very pleased to get another Christmas gift. This or Happy New Year gift in this case, and a nice dinner at Bricktown. Thanks, fellas.
Christy, enjoy the time at Bricktown with us here. We come back. We're going to talk some Cowboys, Oklahoma State Cowboys, with John Holcomb, of course, been on their radio network and a longtime sports director at the Oklahoma's News on 6. And we'll have John Holcomb right after this. Get ready, Cowboys.
It's back, January 13th to the 18th, all under the giant roof of the River Spirit Expo Center. The 34th running of the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals presented by General Tire. Monday and Tuesday reserved seats are on sale now by calling 918-838-3777 or get yours at the event. The world's best drivers in an all-out mudslinging war for the Golden Driller. Can't make it for the whole week? Get your General Edition Pit Pass at the event and find seating all along the back straightaway. For more information, prices, and details, log on to chilibowl.com.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
A bouncer into Ibanu, who slam dunked it. Now the buzzer sounds, and this ball game is over. Tulsa's won the game. Here comes Tulsa. Horn spinning inside, layup, good! Oh, what a play! Joyner with a step inside, and he hits the driving layup. Euro move by Joyner.
And back on Oklahoma Sports Scene, a good friend of ours, John Holcomb, who's been around here for a while. John, how many years now at the new Oklahoma's News on 6?
It's a little over 24.
Wow, and of course there's the Cowboy Network.
Yeah, 15 years. When Mike Gundy became head coach, I joined Dave Hunziker in the booth, and that's, I think it's basketball season number 13.
Well, at least your bowl wasn't as disastrous as the Sooners Bowl, but still disappointing, I know. I'm excited, though. Coach Gundy's excited about, he's all ready for 2020.
Yeah, I think it was purposeful to set that positive tone. Yeah. And it was obvious that he'd had that conversation with some of his players because Amen Ogbangbamiga, you're welcome,
right.
the linebacker, he was giving the same delivery after the game too, even though they were disappointed.
Yeah.
But you had a 14-0 lead and you were missing some of your biggest playmakers, of course, and Spencer Sanders really was limited. So you came out of it disappointed, but yeah, there's plenty to look forward to for next year.
Well, and I think the cupboard is not bare.
Yeah,
They've got some playmakers that can come, and I think I really like the quarterback. I really like him. I think he's going to, as he grows and matures into the offense and understands it, he's really going to be something.
Yeah, Spencer Sanders, of course, had the thumb situation, had some surgery that kept him out of the last 2 games. So you got to see Drew Brown, who, let's give a little credit to Drew.
Yeah,
even though he missed on a few opportunities in the bowl game, the way he conducted himself, he was named a team captain. So he comes in from Hawaii, does that, gets to play in 3 games, and now he's graduated, he's done, now he's probably going to be a coach. But Spencer has that unique ability of not just being a dual threat quarterback, but also being very fast. He might have been the 3rd fastest player on the team this year behind Chuba Hubbard and Braden Johnson.
Were you surprised that Spencer didn't start? It was such a build-up and thought he'd be ready to go, I thought.
I was. Now, I'll also admit that I was not at practices in Houston. The timing of the bowl and holidays, I want to spend a little time with my family at some point. But when they released him medically to play, I thought he would play a bigger role. Obviously, he was not quite there with what they wanted from him, and I'm not sure that maybe even he felt like he could really cut it loose in the pass game, which they probably would have needed to do.
Give us some more good news for the Cowboy fans. Chuba Hubbard is...
I'd love to say he's coming back, but I don't know. I get the sense, and this is just my gut, that he wants to go, and that kind of sounds, because most guys want to play in the NFL.
Sure.
But I don't think he's against coming back. I think it all comes down to how does he feel about the draft grade that, as we understand it, he already has, he knows what it is. Is it high enough for him to definitely say, I'm going? I think it could be, but there's still a bit of that.
Well, it's all about money, obviously, and what he can do down the road. And will that next year? And that's the one thing I think they always have to think about. You're one play away from an ACL.
Sure.
And that's just how it is. And, to look that in the eye, I think I was just glad that he opted to play in the bowl game.
Yeah,
because there was some
great
consternation whether or not he would. And
yeah.
My parting shot about a month ago was he better. I'm glad he did.
And when he delivered it kind of the way he always talks. I mean, he just was very matter of fact about it. He's not one of these guys that rides a whole emotional wave, which is great when you're talking about longevity. And I think it gave his teammates a lot of juice heading into the bowl, and I think that helped them with that start. But, he only carried it 19 times. Whether that was by design or not, I'm not sure. If he comes back, he's not going to carry it 309 times like he did in the regular season this year. But they've got some guys behind him, and they got some guys coming in who could also help that offense.
We were so hoping he'd get the trip to New York.
Yeah.
And, of course, he finished off, obviously, his career, 2,094 yards, second only to Barry Sanders, and everybody's second to Barry Sanders, of course. Also, I thought interesting, tied Barry, though, 12 100-yard rushing games in a season. Just amazing. But just outstanding player, great speed, and yet he just didn't get the – I thought he needed a big game at Bedlam. And we talked about, John, the biggest game, the Kansas State game. Nobody saw it, that stupid ESPN, what is it called, ESPN?
Big 12 now, although they had enough issues with it that one of my colleagues nicknamed it Big 12 later, because that was going to be the look. I hope they get that ironed out, and I understand that maybe that's the wave of the future and everything. But it cost, I think, and Dave Hunziker, my colleague in the booth, feels the same way. I think it really cost him because you rush for 296 yards, and a lot of people don't see it, and it's not top of mind with ESPN, who's running this thing anyway. And it was a ranked Kansas State team when it happened.
Yeah. Jeez.
And that's one thing. I've told the story before that when I was on the rules committee for the NCAA football, and we had our rules meeting, and the year before is when they had the time where the clock hardly ever stopped.
Right.
And in Division 2 and 3, the games were about 2 hours. And we could get our popcorn open. And we were sitting in this big room, and there's all these chairs behind us. And I asked the guy from Carson Newman, I said, what are these? He said, you'll see after the intermission. Here they came, ABC, NBC, CBS, ESPN, Fox. And it was all about the timing because of the commercial times and everything. And had so much respect for Bellotti and Tupperville, because they were in the meeting as the Division I guys. And they made the statement that if this is the problem, and these 2 and 3, they can't play their games long enough. We need to have, let's say, 15-minute halftime no matter what. The president wants to have a presentation, that's fine. It's 15 minutes. And boy, the TV guy said, this is great.
Yeah.
Now, you guys cut off 5 minutes of commercials. They said, not going to
happen. No, you can't trust TV people as far as you can throw them anyway, right? Yeah.
That's okay now, 2020, and I heard you talking the other night on the show about some numbers, some impressive numbers, a lot of coming back on defense.
Yeah, 10 starters, more than likely coming back. You'll have Colby Harvell-Peel coming back from an ACL, which they really missed him in the bowl game. He was a definite playmaker for them. And then you're going to add, you could have 18, 19 starters overall coming back. Of course, again, it goes back to Chuba Hubbard, whether he comes back and whether Tylan Wallace decides to come back too, which will he be ready coming off of his ACL surgery for the combine?
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's a greater chance right now that Tylan comes back than Chuba comes back, but hopefully both of those for Cowboy fans are over 50%. Then you add some recruits. Bixby's Brennan Presley. I think he's a real sleeper in his class.
Yeah, he's a player.
Let's take a look then at the basketball team. You've been, of course, traveling with them and stuff. Ready now to start Big 12 conference play, finishing up the non-conference with a 9-3 record there. And your impressions of this Cowboys squad? Now they're healthy again.
Yeah, you have Isaac Likely back, the point guard, who's one of the toughest point guards in college basketball, regardless of level. And he makes a real difference because in my mind, it's his team, and that's not a knock on Lindy Waters and Thomas DeZagua and Cam McGriff, the seniors who have been through an awful lot in their 4 years. But it's Isaac's team because he sets the tone for them, and even though he missed 4 games, you go 1-3 in the games that he missed. You were 7-0 leading up to that, and the 3 games that they lost, that was what was missing, was really the attitude of toughness, and Yorane wasn't as productive in those games. You couldn't stop.
Georgetown, Wichita State, and Minnesota. Not too bad.
And as a result of their success, I mean, the Cowboys, even though they played Southeastern Louisiana and win by 51 yesterday, they still jump up in that NCAA net rankings, which is all critical now over the last couple of years. They're up in the top 30, in part because they lost number 10, number 28, and I think number 18.
Well, of course, it doesn't get easy. You start Big 12 play at Texas Tech, come back to Gallagher-Iba. The first home game will be against none other than West Virginia. West Virginia, Monday, January 6th. West Virginia just knocked off number 2 Ohio State in Columbus.
Yeah, well, it was in Cleveland. It was a special, but still, it's in Ohio, right? And that one was West Virginia's toughness on display, and they got Caleb Wesson, Ohio State's talented big man in foul trouble who didn't really score, but they're going to do that to a lot of people. And so you have to brace for their physicality. If you can handle your own on the glass against them, you're probably going to have a chance because that's where their strength is. And the Cowboys have had success. They've gone to Morgantown before and won. They won last year with a team that finished 12-20. And so, yeah, it's a tough stretch, but look, it's this conference. There may be some more separation in this league as it looks right now. You could put Kansas, West Virginia, Baylor right now in that, maybe in that top little group there. They really could go deep in March. Then the Cowboys and Texas Tech and perhaps Oklahoma are in that second group. And the bottom, you maybe have a little more separation from top to bottom than you've had in years past.
Well, when can the football conference get as tough as the basketball?
Well, if you could recruit guys who look like the forwards that Bob Huggins put out on the floor for West Virginia yesterday, and you can have them play defensive line, then that's a good start. It's interesting because the argument can go in recruiting, well, why don't you just go to these guys, these 4- and 5-star defensive linemen, and say, hey, you can come play for us right now. Right. Just come on right now, we'll put you in and you suit you up. It depends on the kid. And are you churning out defensive linemen that are getting drafted?
That's the key.
John, thanks for taking the time. I know you got to get to the studio for Channel 6. Oklahoma's News on 6. 24 years as sports director and multiple sportscaster of the year. Great guy, does a great job with the Cowboys. Give best to Dave and everybody there and the family and stuff. John, Happy New Year.
Thank you, same to you.
Happy New Year.
Back to talk to Emmitt Hahn about the prelude to the Chili Bowl coming up. It's their preview of the Tulsa Shootout. Stay with us.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
It's back, January 13th to the 18th, all under the giant roof of the River Spirit Expo Center. The 34th running of the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals presented by General Tire. Monday and Tuesday reserved seats are on sale now by calling 918-838-3777 or get yours at the event. The world's best drivers in an all-out mudslinging war for the Golden Driller. Can't make it for the whole week? Get your General Edition pit pass at the event and find seating all along the back straightway. For more information, prices, and details, log on to chilibowl.com.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
A bouncer into Igbanu, who slam dunked it. Oh, the buzzer sounds, and this ball game is over. Tulsa's won the game. Here comes Tulsa. Horn spinning inside, layup, good. Oh, what a play. Joyner with a step inside, and he hits the driving layup. Euro move by Joyner.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene, and I am so glad to introduce to you the man.
That's right.
From West Tulsa, Emmitt Hahn, who will be going into the TPS Athletic Hall of Fame this year.
That's right. Congratulations
on
that. Yes, sir.
Before that, you have a tremendous event.
We have the Tulsa Shootout this week, and then we got this Chili Bowl coming up, and it's going to be I think it's going to be the best we've ever had.
Well, it's amazing. I tell you, this first event is kind of the prelude to the Chili Bowl. It's the 35th Lucas Oil Tulsa Shootout at the River Spirit Expo Square. It's a micro sprint car racing, the very first event of 2020. Talk about how many cars, how many drivers you're going to have for this event for the next 3 days.
We've got, we're going to have over 1,300. And in fact, one class there, Matt was just telling me that we're going to have 37 heat races in this one class. So I told him, I said, how would you like to drive from Seattle, Washington, and come down here and draw for your heat race and draw number 340? I said,
there you go.
That put me on suicide.
Oh, my God. Well, it's our show, of course, airs on New Year's night here. Happy New Year's, everybody. But also this action continues through the 4th at the River Spirit. And by the way, Thursday, 8 a.m. the building opens, 9 a.m. racing, same schedule for Friday and for Saturday. The big event on Saturday. Talk about the big wrap-up there.
The Saturday, you could go out there New Year's and watch this, but there's just going to be lap after lap. But Saturday night, when you have the qualifying main events and then the main events, the racing don't get any better. I know my grandson's driving somebody's car out of California. I went over and looked at it a while ago. This guy's got this little old motorcycle engine, got $15,000 in this engine and a brand new car. I'm telling you, he's got $30,000 cars there, and I think he brought 6 of them. And when you got people with that kind of money in these cars and you got 1,300 of them, it's absolutely unbelievable. And the shootout, year or so, them guys will be running Chili Bowl, and then another year or so, you'll see them in NASCAR or whatever. I mean, Kyle Larson is one at the shootout. Ricky Stenhouse is one at the shootout. Jamie McMurray, the list goes on. I mean, it's just Ryan Blaney was running NASCAR.
Yep.
He was up here a couple years ago running, and so you can't go to a racetrack in the country that somebody there hadn't raced at the Tulsa Shootout.
Wow.
Well, you've told us that even the Tony Stewart and those folks say if you haven't been to Tulsa, you haven't been anywhere.
That's exactly right. I mean, it's almost like a reunion of racers. I know 2 semis come in, and these from Delaware. And these guys, a guy charges them $800 to bring their car down. They have to take the front bumper off, the tail tank off. They set them cars in there sideways in this 53-foot trailer. And we have to take a forklift, go in there and just lift them up, bring them out, and they put them back together. But, I mean, to come from Delaware, I think them guys brought in somewhere around 20 cars.
And the preparation for this event, talk about the track, getting that dirt track ready.
I could really talk about it this year. You know, we had a little door issue at the BMX race where they tore the door down.
Yeah, right.
And it hasn't been repaired, so they had to cut a hole in their temporary wall for us to get our trucks in. We started hauling dirt. Then we have us a water leak at 15th and Yale, so they closed the intersection. So now then, we take the long route. So this has been and then we got new bleachers downstairs. Everything's different, and everything's been a test. So they tested us this year.
But remember, Emmitt, if it was easy, anybody could do it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Tell us about micro sprint cars. How are they different from what we'll see in the Chili Bowl?
The Chili Bowl, them cars, the wheelbase is about the same, except Chili Bowl, you know, they run a 4-cylinder like Toyota, Ford, or S-Linger. And these run a motorcycle engine. Instead of having a driveline in them, they're chain driven. They got a chain and a sprocket. So when you change the gears on this, you change sprockets up here to get different ratio. But I'm telling you, they've got these micros now to where they're as sophisticated as the midgets. And you know, here again, the midgets. Grandson's running a little Toyota down there. You can just buy this little 4-cylinder Toyota engine for a Chili Bowl for $50,000.
Oh my God.
$50,000.
Wow.
But just think, it pays $10,000 to win the Chili Bowl and $1,000 to win this shootout.
And you get a cool trophy.
Yes, sir. The trophy.
That's right.
That's what this Kyle Larson is coming for. Now, this boy wants his Chili.
The Golden Driller.
Golden Driller at the Chili Bowl.
God.
So, how many volunteers, how many workers will you have this week, and then the next week when you have the Chili Bowl?
I'm really not sure, but I can tell you the payroll will be.
Not volunteers.
They're not volunteers. The payroll will be in excess of $100,000.
Oh my gosh.
So, but just like out there today, we're parking, early parking at the shootout. We probably got 20 people up there parking. We probably got 35 or 40 employees out there today.
Well, so the economic impact for Tulsa has got to be fantastic.
It's huge. The shootout's not as much as the Chili Bowl, but it's getting up there. These guys, if you go out there and look at some of these rigs, I drove down through them pits today, and I thought, my God, this is the Tulsa Shootout.
Oh my gosh!
But then the Chili Bowl, they just fill the airport up out here with corporate jets at the Chili Bowl. They come with a pocket full.
35th Tulsa Shootout, again, January 1st through the 4th. The big event, of course, Saturday night. And then, gear it up, baby, because the 34th Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals presented by General Tire. That's January 13th to 18th, 2020. How do you get tickets? Well, how about this? Our man Emmitt Hahn has generously donated a pair of tickets for both the Monday and Tuesday. Go to our Twitter or Facebook page, have the information, and you get a chance to win these tickets. These are, by the way, I think $54 apiece.
$54 a piece.
That's right. Thank you very much. We have, again, so get to our Facebook, Twitter page, and get this information, get a chance to win these tickets. Come up, pick them up here at our Peak One Studios. We'll give you all the information, but your chance to get it. Otherwise, how do you get a ticket for Chili Bowl?
You have to, Wednesday through Saturday, you just have to buy a pit pass, which is general admission seat.
Right.
I mean, of course, you can go down in the pits, go around the cars. and then we got general seating down the back, but it's first come, first served. It's Monday, Tuesday. This is the only time people have got a chance to get a reserved seat. And the reason you can is we just added Tuesday and Wednesday just a few years ago because we used to run Wednesday through Saturday, and we got season ticket holders. In fact, we added 391 new seats this year with the new bleachers. And so we had that many people. We just called our people on the waiting list, and one day they're all gone.
And you keep improving the air quality and such.
They've done an excellent job on the fans and the louvers out there. It's been great the last 3 or 4 years, and they've added some more this year, so it's great.
Well, again, go in and congratulate Emmitt for being an inductee this coming January 30th, right?
I can't wait. I can't wait.
We're really looking forward to it. It's going to be a
West
great
Side
night.
boy, Webster.
How about that, huh? And he's also, we have on our nominee list for the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. He's well deserved for that too.
Well, I could be a fish out of water if we get inducted into that.
There you go.
We got somebody here, Emmitt.
Go by Bricktown when you get a chance.
All right. So I won't starve.
That's the best out of the family. Everybody, best. We're looking forward to being out there.
All right.
Get ready. It's going to be great. Again, get ready for the micro sprint racing, January 1st to the 4th, and then the Chili Bowl Nationals, January 13th to 18th. Best show on dirt for sure. The best racing ever. All right. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck, Emmitt.
We're going to cowboy up. Jeff Metters, the National Finals Rodeo host, will be here to talk about the NFR and the big rodeo just completed in Las Vegas. Stay with us.
What are you guys looking at?
Oh, just one of 360 TLX PMCs in existence.
Wait, what do you mean?
They're made by hand. Yeah, Mr. Mo says CLs make them at the North Pole.
Oh yeah? What else did Mr. Mo tell you?
Cue the voiceover.
From now until the end of the year, save big on all new and certified pre-owned Acuras.
Happy holidays from all of us here at Don Carlton Acura.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
Robertson Tire has been your local tire expert since 1962. Now at RobertsonTire.com, it's easier than ever to get a customized quote. And with our price match guarantee, you can be sure that you're getting the best price. For more information, visit RobertsonTire.com.
Time to cowboy up again with my old buddy Jeff Metters here. We go back a few years together, Channel 8 days, Wintercom days and stuff, and Channel 2 days here in town.
We go back to Talahena in 1979.
Oh, you got to tell that story. That's right.
The reason I got in this business was I played football down there, and I realized I wasn't going to be big enough to play college or NFL. Chris spoke at my all-sports banquet when I was a junior.
Goodness.
I decided right then that I was going to be a sportscaster.
How easy is this, he thought?
Yeah, and I showed him an article that a guy did from the Tulsa Tribune.
Yeah.
I was an all-state football player,
yeah.
And he wanted to do a story on a kid from a small town, and it's like, all-state game last hurrah for future sportscaster, and I said in there that I wanted Chris's job at Channel 8. So
there you go.
So I got to work with him for a long time.
He was at Wintercom, did a great job for us there and stuff. But now,
amazingly talented television guy.
He is the man, though, when it comes to rodeo, National Finals Rodeo. Jeff just came back from Las Vegas, another incredible National Finals. Talk about the setup there for your Geronimo Productions. It was a great run for you guys on CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, it's a major undertaking. It'll take me a while to recover, but we have about 60 employees. We do all the television for CBS Sports. We do all the hotel feeds and everything down that line. So pre-show, the internet feeds for international, and it's a lot of guys that you've worked with for.
Sure, that's right.
It'd be like a homecoming if you were there. But a lot of talented people that work and make it a success.
December 5th through the 14th, 10 go-rounds, and we're talking about the skill. I tell you, these got to be the toughest athletes in the world. I love these guys that limp off with a twisted arm or twisted leg, and I love that Justin report they have. Yeah, and they said this guy just gave the show. This guy busted his knee. Probably he'll be back on.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Torn ACL, whatever, and they just the list gets longer as you get to round 10, but they're literally as and during the regular season, you got to keep in mind they get hurt, they get treatment, and then they get in their truck and maybe drive 5, 6, 12 hours to the next rodeo and do it all again. Money hasn't ruined the game. They'll sit down and have a beer with you. They treat you like one of their own, and they're great guys.
Been in Vegas since 1985, still the toughest ticket to get this in Vegas. Talk about the setting there at the Thomas Mack Center.
Yeah, 340 consecutive sellouts, so 34 years straight.
Gosh.
And a lot of people come up and say, do you do the PBR? And I'm like, no, I don't do the PBR. You know, and the PBR has done a great job in what they do, and they've really moved the ball forward. But if the PBR sold out their last two, let's say in November, their sellout would be at 2. You know, you look at the NFR, it's 340. It's far and away the largest event in the Western world.
Thomas and Mack Center still capable of handling the national finals?
Yeah, you know, there's been so much talk about, we'll move it here. They have the new T-Mobile Center. There's no room for the stock there because there's so many animals there. You hear whispers about maybe the new football stadium. I don't know if you guys have been to Vegas lately, but it's kind of a cool stadium. Of course, built right there in the middle where traffic will get even worse than it is right now.
Right.
But there's some talk down that line. You know, you have 17,000, almost 18,000 in attendance every night, and probably another 180 to 200,000 that are just in town for the rodeo. It's the biggest 10-day run of the year for Las Vegas.
Top 15 money earners through the entire year coming to Vegas for the National Finals Rodeo, compete in the major events of rodeo, of course. 10 go-rounds, tough competition. What were some of the highlights for you this year?
I love Clayton Bigelow. He's just a tough kid. He won the bareback riding world title. It's one of those, you've probably had those kind of epiphanies. The year before, I said on the air, this kid's going to win the world next year. And then I watched him this year, and he just exploded. He was incredible. Sage Kimsey, the Oklahoma kid, you know.
Strong City, Oklahoma.
Yeah, and he may be the greatest bull rider of all time. He's won 6 consecutive PRCA world titles. Every time he does a PBR event and goes head-to-head, he kicks their butt, too. He wants to break Donnie Gay's record of 8 PRCA world titles. He's 6 for 6. But he's really good.
Sage Kimsey, by the way, all-time record earnings, $480,797, broke his own 2017 record. And you talked earlier about Sets and Riders looking at the all-around, won the all-around as a rookie rough stock rider, right? He won the all-around title.
Yeah, you know, like when you were doing NFR with us, that was the days of Ty
Murray. Exactly.
You know, and Ty Murray won 7.
Yeah.
And then Dan Mortensen won 1. But you got to keep in mind, Trevor Brazeau comes along, who's on the tie-down side of it, the timed event side of it, and he won 14 out of 15. He just dominated. So it had been a long time since a rough stock cowboy had won. He's going to be back. He's a really good saddle bronc rider. He broke his jaw riding bulls this summer, and he didn't make it in 2 events. He made it in bull riding. My question for him, you know, the Wright family's pretty famous. They were on 60 Minutes this fall. They did a story with them. They're all big-time saddle bronc riders. You know, his dad's a 2-time world champion, his brothers, you know, and all that stuff. But my question is, will he stay with bull riding? Because he's a really good bronc rider, and you know, your family can't be the black sheep forever. Sometimes they'll pull you in, and you'll let the bull riding go if you have a tough injury or 2.
Well, you know, Jeff, with all the injuries that are involved, what's the life of a cowboy? How many years can they compete?
Well, we had a saddle bronc rider this year, J.J. Elsher, who was 40 years old. You know, and they don't buck off quite as much. Bareback riders and bull riders tend to have the shortest run. Really physical on those guys. You know, and everybody talks about bull riding injuries. They're a little more traumatic, but the bareback riding injuries really kind of shorten your career. And what I've noticed with those guys is you have a window to win your world titles. Casey Field won 4 in a row. Tim O'Connell won 3 in a row. You know, I saw the Garrett boys like in the 90s, they win. And when that window closes on you, it closes fast. So it's pretty demanding. It's a young guy's event. The ropers can go forever. You know, maybe not so much tie-down roping, but team roping is a lot like golf. You have guys that are 50, 60, 70.
Really?
They're not making the NFR,
right,
but they're still competing at a pretty high level.
Well, concussion been a factor in rodeo?
Oh, man, yeah, on the bull riding side of it, yeah, absolutely. And I think that technology is catching up a little bit. They're starting to test. Tandy Freeman, who kind of heads the Justin Sports Medicine group during the NFR, is also the director of medicine for PBR. And you're seeing guys more now get a concussion and sitting out a night or 2. It's a scary deal, just as it is in football.
How did it take a while for these Cowboys to adjust the idea of not having the cowboy hat on, but wearing that helmet, wearing a flak jacket?
Well, they start them young now. You know, I used to ask Ty Murray, why don't you wear a helmet? He goes, why don't you put on a football helmet and walk down a flight of stairs? If you're not used to doing it, then, you know, and it's weight. It's you know, those guys ride so much with that upper body. And if you didn't grow up doing it, it's very foreign to you. But you see more and more of those guys wearing helmets now.
the bareback, you mentioned that Clayton Bigelow won 5 rounds in the NFR on a high 93-point ride. Wow.
Yeah, he's just a tough kid.
My
you know, and
gosh.
he's a cowboy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he does everything. I do a ride in California with his dad in May, and his dad was a good rodeo cowboy, Russ. But Clayton he's a flashy kid. I thought he and Stetson Wright were kind of the standouts for me in the NFR in terms of being the poster children for it, because those guys have a good look and they won a lot. And
now, besides National Finals, tell us about your other project that has some really good profiles of these Cowboys people ought to be looking into.
Yeah, it airs on CBS Sports Network. It's called Bullseye. And I like David Faraday because I'm a golf nut.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because I'm a glutton for punishment. And I hate myself, obviously. But that's why I root for the Dallas Cowboys. And what are you going for?
And the Oklahoma State Cowboys. He's a Cowboy all the way. That's right.
But I love Faraday's show on the Golf Channel.
Yeah.
And I've spent so much time with these guys. You know, like this year I did Billy Ettbauer, who's one of my heroes. Very few professional athletes that I'd want their autograph.
I covered him, for gosh sakes, the Ettbauer boys.
Oh, yeah.
Tough.
I did a couple shows with Tuff Edeman, who's a legend in bull riding. Casey Field, and Trevor Brazil. And then I actually did one with Butch Knowles.
Oh, yeah. I got your guy, your color commentator.
Yeah,
with you,
Butch and I
we've
done the NFR together since 1991. And then we're gearing up for season 2, and there's going to be some fun stuff there. But it's personal. It's kind of raw. You know, it's just a whole different approach to these guys. And since I have such a good relationship with them, when we sit down, it's just kind of like you and me. We have just a really good conversation.
We have something for you here, Jeff, for take some time here. And
when you have some time to get by Bricktown.
Yep, we'll do.
Best of the family, Jeff.
Thanks so
Great
much.
job. Becky and I stay up late and watch that and enjoy it all the time.
I enjoyed it. My kids went to Union, but I'm still a fan of yours. There you go. Good to see you.
They tried to put me on a cowboy hat in the NFR.
You want to try it on?
Yeah.
Here, try it
to work here.
Look at that.
You look
That looks
good.
on you.
Is that
I
me?
think the deal was you just didn't have the right hat.
What do you think, Becky? Becky, take it off quick before they photograph it.
You just didn't have the
You look
right
natural.
hat.
Well, I tell you, great job, Jeff.
Yep.
Again,
Always good
thanks
to
for
see
doing
you.
it, buddy.
You bet.
Jeff, as we come back, we're going to recap big event for Gill Cloud, the 55th Tournament of Champions. Michael Knight's going to have a recap for us when we come back.
Okay, Winston, that should do it.
Hey, Sammy, what are you guys doing?
Winston and I were making gingerbread garages.
Gingerbread garages?
Yeah, so Winston could park his new Honda in it.
Sammy, he's a dog.
Oh, should I build him bigger?
From all of us here at Don Carlton Honda, we'd like to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and safe travels this holiday season.
Hey, Sammy, have you seen Winston?
Yeah, he took the Civic for a spin.
It's back, January 13th to the 18th, all under the giant roof of the River Spirit Expo Center. The 34th running of the Lucas Oil Chilliwack Nationals, presented by General Tire. Monday and Tuesday reserved seats are on sale now by calling 918-838-3777 or get yours at the event. The world's best drivers in an all-out mudslinging war for the Golden Driller. Can't make it for the whole week? Get your general admission pit pass at the event and find seating all along the back straightway. For more information, prices, and details, log on to chilibowl.com.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene. We have Michael Knight from Oklahoma Preps, and I'm going to tell you, we had quite a 55th annual Tournament of Champions.
Look, we've been a part of it, covering it for OKPreps.com the last 5-6 years, and we say it every single year that it gets bigger and better than ever, and this year it did not disappoint. We had a great mix of fantastic players, fantastic teams. We had that small school feel with Duke jumping up and finishing as consolation champs, getting an upset victory on the second day. So an outstanding tournament, and we say it every year. We compliment the man because he does such a great job. You, Mick Wilson, the entire staff at Tulsa Public Schools, another great event at ORU.
Well, it's a great 3 days for the basketball junkie for sure.
Yeah.
But when you get to that final night, Michael, and I've said this every year, that the 8 years that I've been here, it's nothing short of the state tournament atmosphere in the Mabee Center. When we had the BTW overtime game with Moore for the championship. I mean, I've been in that facility when the state championship game hasn't been that good.
Exactly, and those two teams being in Class 6A, being top 10 teams, they could very well meet once again
That's right.
at ORU in the state tournament. So, like we've always said, this tournament is, the best in Oklahoma. We had Mick on last week, and he talked about how, a hypothetical state champion until those state tournaments roll around in March. It gives you a great feel for who those best teams are, and what a great game, what a fantastic win for Booker T. Washington, and they're going to take plenty of momentum now as we head into January.
Boys championship was an upset. 5A number 1, Del City actually beat Booker T. Washington 67-54. The girls, Booker T. won the championship there 77-70. Talk about some of the standout athletes. I know we kind of spotlighted some of those. You were following those on okpreps.com.
Yeah, you started with Del City, and I think they came to Tulsa with the idea to win the whole thing, but step one was they wanted to make a statement on Friday, and that started with a 1-versus-2 battle in 5A basketball between Del City and defending champion Memorial. And they absolutely handed the Chargers a loss that Memorial's not used to being beat up like they were. Del City's on a mission, certainly. Nate Goodlow, a fantastic senior guard. They have a couple younger players as well that are going to keep Del City in the mix, not only this year, but the rest of 2020 and into the next couple of seasons. But it all starts with Nate Goodlow. When you saw what he did as a point guard, he wasn't the leading scorer by any means. He didn't dominate the scoring category like a Bryce Thompson or Trey Alexander from Heritage Hall. But he just commanded the floor for the best team in the tournament. It was fantastic to see. We mentioned Bryce Thompson. Everybody at this point knows about Thompson and what he's able to do. Trey Phipps had a great tournament. Trey Alexander, it was fun. It was sure fun on Friday to see those two match up against one another in the TOC semifinal. And that, again, we circle back to what makes this tournament great. You get to see, on Friday, and I was more excited, honestly, for Friday than I was for Saturday, just simply because we got 1-versus-2 in Class 5A with Del City facing Memorial. We got Trey Alexander, the best junior in Oklahoma, taking on Bryce Thompson, the best senior in Oklahoma. Matchups like this only happen at the Tournament of Champions.
Well, it was really interesting. The coach from Garber made a statement. He said, I knew this was tough, but I didn't know it was this tough. I just think I was really impressed with the level of coaching throughout the tournament on both sides. I think that they prepared those kids for that, and the kids come in, and it is the state tournament feel. And I think it is a great opportunity for those kids, whether they go to the big house down in Oklahoma City or they play in the Mabee Center. That's the atmosphere you have to have. And I think that's one of the things that the coach from Duke told us. He said, we were 31-1. We lost the last game of the season because that was the first time in the state championship game that we had any adversity. And so they got some adversity the first night, but then they overmatched that the next two nights and did a great job.
Absolutely, and we see it every single year. Those small school teams that maybe got beat up on a little bit this weekend in Tulsa, they're going to more than be ready for what's to come in March.
And we have more basketball coming up here February 1st, the BOK Basketball Classic with high school teams featured in that, Gil.
We'll have eight games starting at 9 o'clock in the morning at the BOK Center and from all classes. And I think it is going to be another great day for basketball in downtown Tulsa.
In our first show of the new year, we'll be talking much more about our 8th annual TPS Athletic Hall of Fame. And some great inductees going into that, so look forward to that. Happy New Year, everyone. We'll see you next year on Oklahoma Sports Scene.